you a little bit more about your dad's personality. Seems like when I was asking your mom about it, you wanted to chime in a little bit. Tell me about your dad. What was he like?
He was a taskmaster. I mean, given the age and the generational thing, and he had a good sense of humor. He was always there. Um, I skipped the math gene, so my homework sessions with him were pretty traumatic. Um, and then, of course, we all took turns being his hands after the accident when he would still continue to do. In New York State, anyway, you have to still have house plans approved by either a civil engineer or an architect. Make sure they're structurally sound, make sure the energy levels meet compliance and what have you. So when my mother went to work, everybody took a turn, whether it was one of the neighborhood kids or myself or anybody, to be his hands when we drew on plans and were helping him. And I like algebra, I'm okay with that, but I had a yellow legal pad, and he would, off the top of his head, give me this algebraic equation for energy to make sure that the windows were compliant. And I worked this whole thing down, this whole yellow legal pad, and I gave him the answer. And he said, no, that's not right. So I was doing the next set of plans and working that down, and he was like, what is taking you so long? And I said, if I get the same answer twice, I will give it to you then, because then I know that I checked my work and I might stand a chance of getting the right answer. So math was his forte, it was not mine. And I can remember feeling very grateful sitting at his knee before his accident when I would get an answer right. And then I would like breathe this great sigh of relief, and he'd say, okay, now do the next one. And I would just crumble. So, but yeah, he was a very supportive dad. He wanted the best, expected nothing less, you know. It was, he knew what he wanted, he knew how to get there, and his expectations for his children were pretty high.
Carrie mentions how she has grown now in adulthood to have a better appreciation of the sacrifices your mom made. Similar for you?
Yeah, especially now that in my own personal world there are health issues with my own husband. So yes, I come to see through different eyes. And you have to remember, when my father had his accident, very few people ever survived breaking their neck. So it was uncharted territory, especially here as remote. I mean, we think of Binghamton as being pretty progressive, but really in the grand scheme of healthcare, it was a pretty scary time. You know, no one really knew what to do with my dad, and not many people had survived that kind of thing. Someone a few years after my dad had also broken his neck and was not quite so lucky to survive. But my parents had counseled that couple, as well as a high school friend of mine who also broke his neck at a class reunion for his college. He broke his neck diving into the hotel pool. And my folks were really gracious to them as well in helping when you blaze the path, you know, and others walk behind you. It's somewhat, I believe, our obligation to help others so they are not starting from scratch, the place where you have already struggled to be and overcome. So I believe that too is a great community thing, that my parents never closed themselves off from helping others.
You know, your mom mentions often that she's simply paying it forward from, you know, the help that she's received. But I kind of get the sense that helping others is sort of intrinsic to who she is, regardless of what her life experiences have been like.
I agree. We have an extremely large Italian family in Long Island. For many, many years, I thought I was related to all of Long Island because our family is so large. I couldn't believe there would be someone I could run into on Long Island that I wasn't related to. Of course, that's not really true, but when you're a child and you see all these people. My grandparents, great-grandparents, and the the subsequent generations thereafter would all gather at what we called the big house. And that was family central. Any occasion, everyone gathered there. So there was always something going on, always somebody helping someone else, being involved, birthdays, weddings, funerals, whatever the case may be. It was a very tight-knit family. Of course, as years go on, my folks were actually the first ones to move off the island, off Long Island, and blaze a trail of their own because of my dad's job with New York State. So otherwise, you know, everyone stayed pretty local for a very long time. So it was not unusual, you know, one aunt would reprimand a grandchild of another, or you know, whatever. It was just intermingling. So there's always been a history of service. It was a multi-generational house. So she was caring for her grandfather while her mother was working, and you know, it was just the way it was. There was an expectation. It was family. We didn't have social programs at that time. You didn't look to outsiders for help. You kept everything within your family, and you all helped one another. So it does not come unnatural to help. And since this community has become home in the years, the 55 odd years that they've lived here, and have left the natural family, we've adopted the community of Bampton and adopted community in Shenango Bridge and church, and most importantly our neighborhood, so that all the children grew up with that sense of community and service.
Yeah. And I just want to get back to what you were saying before we started here about how, you know, it's important, in your opinion, to recognize the sort of quiet soldiers that, that contribute so significantly in our society.
I agree. I think we all know about life coaches. We all know about the athletes who are paying it forward with their over-the-top gestures and their very large bank accounts. But it's the people who don't look for any accolades. It's the people who help a neighbor, helping a person when they're down, not looking for recognition for that, not looking for anything more than doing the right thing. Those are the people that make the world go round. Those are the people that quietly pass on the help that they've received in hopes that the next person will too pass it on. That's what makes society and community and shows love. And that's really what this is all about. I think if we had a little more to do with selflessness and more interaction in community, we would go a lot farther.
So your mom has a big day coming up.
She does. And no one is supposed to know.
Well, what better way to keep it secret than to tell it on TV?
There you go. There you go. And my siblings are arriving this weekend. That was part of my delay in reaching to you, because I didn't want to do this alone. So I said, my sister and my brother, two of my three siblings, are coming this weekend for dinner for birthday. And I said, I'll ask Jim if he can hold off and the three of us can talk. And my sister was like, yeah, no, I don't think so.
You got us into this.
That's pretty much what she said. She said, this is something you did. I think you should see it through. But if you want, we can do it. But we won't be there till late on Saturday. And I was like, okay. So I decided not to hold you up any longer, like I have been.
No, you're fine.
So I appreciate your time and your efforts on behalf of our family, and on behalf of just saying thank you to someone who sets a great example, not only for her family and friends, but for the community at large.
All right, with that, I think we're good.